all Canadian families, we are on the Titanic. The iceberg hasn't hit yet, so we're not sinking. If we don't shift course, that iceberg is coming for us.
I'm not planning on leaving. I'm fighting. We want to make this country incredibly great.
We begin to see that it really isn't about diversity. It is about punishing the people who perform beyond the mean.
For people who don't care, where do you see Canada going?
Oh, it's catastrophic. It is that bad.
What is the carbon tax doing to lower carbon emissions?
Exactly.
I love this country. I was born in this country. I believe in what this country stands for. I believe in its people. I believe as a place opportunity for all to come and live, but the path that we're on is not working. And we are not going to be what we're supposed to be if we continue along this path.
Yeah.
Well, welcome citizens. We're glad to join you guys today. We are in a different studio, if you didn't notice that. Jeremy, how you doing?
Somewhere very special, doing really, really good.
We are down in Dallas. We've been teasing you guys a lot lately about a partnership we've been working at with the launch of Merit TV Canada. Citizen, as you know, you guys love the show, which is now airing on Merit TV Canada. We are actually hanging out.
Yeah.
Tell them where we're hanging, Jared.
We are actually in Dallas, Texas at Dr. Phil's Merit TV studios, and I thought I'd show you guys real quick.
You going for a walk?
It's a little bit more than this, but actually I want to show you what we're looking at, what you don't actually get to see. So this is...
Well, we're in the corner studio right now.
Yeah, we're in the corner, which is beautiful. It's cool, but I thought I'd show you guys over here.
Take them for a cruise.
So take a look at this. So this is what we're doing. We are currently in Dr. Phil's studio himself. This is kind of a fanboy moment for me. I grew up watching Dr. Phil. I've seen him all over the place in his evolution, and here we are. I'm standing in his very own studio.
It could be very practical for you too. If we got Dr. Phil give you some counseling to help you out.
I could use all the counseling I could get.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
I'm in the right place for that. But here we are. We wanted to show you guys this, and it's very, very surreal, but it's awesome because this is a small taste of some of the things to come in this beautiful partnership with Merit TV Canada.
Yeah, we are. We've been talking a lot about what we've been doing, as you know, with what we've been trying to build here with our Return the Reason team and with Leighton and with a couple other guys and David Lease. It's really important, we believe in Canada, be able to have people back at the table to have conversations about issues. Yeah. Welcome back on a long journey.
Thank you.
But having proper conversations and people being able to actually connect. That's something, as we're meet and greeting the executive team here at Merit in the U.S. First off, giant shout out to Merit team in the U.S. and all the crew and all these guys who are helping us today to keep our show going so you guys can still see us weekly. We've been finding such a synergy with the same idea of, we need to be able to get people back to the table and talk about issues. Doesn't mean we force each other to think or think what we have to think, but we actually can talk without necessarily, you can walk away agreeing to disagree, but we believe that's how best ideas win.
And you nailed it on the head. One of the things I said when I got off the plane to myself, and I've been jokingly saying it to you and to Jeff, is the air feels freer here. Like
jokingly, or is that kind of serious?
Of course, it's tongue in cheek, but the thing is like I feel as though the Americans are. It's a freer country. You can't argue that it's not a freer country.
No doubt, yeah.
I think in many, many, many ways. They for sure lost the Four Nations Cup, so they're not.
You gotta rub that in their face.
They got the silver there, but we did get the gold.
Still reigns supreme. A lot of people are calling for a best of three series, though, because
well, that's what people are saying for sure. I just had to throw that in there. We're surrounded by Americans at the moment. We did come through and it mattered the most. That's our one little. I know, that's the one thing we'll hold. And if we lost that game, man, that was the biggest game we've ever had to win in Canada's history. I'm sure about that.
Did you see Trudeau's tweet about it? At the end, there's a lot of people who are just so cringe.
Why would he even comment on it?
He made it. I gotta find it. Oh, you can't take our country and you can't take our game.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Relax.
Okay, sorry, back to your
anyway,
point.
okay. But my whole point about the feeling freer is I feel a synergy here, as you were saying, where we very much aligned in our thinking about bringing good ideas to the top. And we just got out of a number of meetings, and that's the thing is I almost feel like I'm kind of vibrating from the the like-mindedness
On the potential.
and
right?
the potential and what's all here and what they're doing and what Dr. Phil is actually actively doing. He's not just a bystander. He's making a difference. And he's like, I was telling out of the meeting we were in, watching Dr. Phil go down to Pennsylvania there in the thick of it in the last few days of the election. He wasn't there pitching a candidate. He was talking to people, getting their stories. And for those who haven't seen that, get down there, watch that. Look up Dr. Phil in Pennsylvania. I can't recommend it enough. He was going in there and talking with real people about situations and policies that will make a difference in their world or not. And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Like that's why this is so awesome, is the fact that we are here and we're going to be doing this for the nation of Canada. And that's why we're spearheading this. And
Well, we wanted to show you all of this because
Yeah.
it's tangible.
Yeah.
Like there's a real partnership. It's nice being able to connect with the whole team and we believe in the same thing of trying to pursue truth, having proper conversations and reason, right? Let's that's why we call our thing Return the Reason.
Yeah.
And we feel like we've lost the plot in Canada on that.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about being able to have a good friendship and partner in that sense is that they want to help and champion us with Canada, because you and I love Canada. We're Canadian through and through. We believe the best is still yet to come for Canada. And we believe it can, but we have to get to a place where we're not stupid anymore.
Yeah.
And we're not being dumb when it comes to what are good ideas, what are bad ideas.
Well, and there's so much on the cusp in this next little bit. Like my mom, she's worked for Elections Canada, volunteering and working for them over the years. And so she got a call 2 nights ago and asking if she would work for federal election.
Yeah.
But that's the first sign of, like, I've seen, I don't know about you, about any federal action to an election. And so my mom called me and was like, they're preparing for an election. Like, it's actually probably coming. And so we have a lot kind of coming up in the next 30, 60, 90 days here in Canada. I'm very curious.
Do you think it's coming? Do you think it's going to be called? Like, Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP, holds the power in terms of whether they're going to support.
You're saying, so if Carney gets in, because that's why we're prorogued.
It's
So
not.
if
It's
the
all but
Liberal
done for
leader's
him.
elected, government fires back up, but you're saying you're not even fully confident that Jagmeet will even go with a vote. of
What track
non-confidence.
record does he have where
Yeah.
you can trust his word?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Like-
he's,
like,
he's completely backed down.
We've talked a lot in the past episodes about track record. How do you can't judge someone's intentions because you don't know
course.
what their
Yeah.
actual, you only know what they say, but you also know someone by what they have done over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Like if I punch you in the face 10 times in a row, and the 11th time, I'm not going to punch you in the face. Are you going to trust me?
No, not at all. Of course
Because
not.
my actions I have broken my word over and over again.
Yeah.
So I don't think, like, I would be very surprised. I'll say it this way. I would not be surprised if there is some sort of deal that supports the Liberal government to go on as long as possible. But then there's also the other side of, you've been hearing some chatter about how they may not even have to call an election this year because the charter talks about having 5 years between election cycle. And the last election we had was 2021. If you think about it, when Trudeau called an early election in 2021, during, remember that, right?
Yeah.
And got another minority government, which Jagmeet Singh and the NDP have been supporting for 2 years.
So I thought, why is it then that there would be?
Well, because it was on slate from it being previously, there was going to be for sure an election in October of 2025. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's not going to happen this way, but there is precedence to state that the Constitution states 5 years since last election. Last election was 2021. So I'm just saying there might be some play there. I don't know if it's actually going to happen or Carney will do that. I'm assuming Carney's going to become the leader of the Liberal Party.
It seems that way. There was a lot of controversy with that. Her name is slipping my mind. You know what I'm talking about?
Rubia.
Yes.
Rubia Dalia.
Where she got
got
disqualified from the running, and she was actually the second running, like next to
Do you
Carney.
know much about that? Like I don't.
There was a lot going on there. I could quickly pull it up, but I'd be curious for anyone who's watching in the comments. That there's a lot of people saying that they don't believe that this is fair at all, and that they're saying it's completely rigged because of now that's two Liberal leaders running for the office of Liberal who've been pulled out or disqualified, who were giving Mark Carney a run for his money, and so there's a lot of upset people about that.
Well, Ruby Dalla, his name is, disqualified because of, they say, misappropriating $350,000 in election contest fees. She's obviously saying this is bogus.
Yeah.
It's a corrupt Liberal Party is what she's saying, and others in terms of eliminating maybe some competition. I haven't dived into that too much yet, so I have to look into that. If you guys know and you guys are watching on right now, let us know at least what are the both sides of this story. You have the Liberal Party saying that Ruby is disqualified for a certain amount. Does that actually have any legs on it or not? I have yet to dive into that. But back to the idea of good ideas and bad ideas. And it's actually kind of surreal sitting on this set, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
for sure it is.
Interesting.
Even especially it being in the USA, like when, I don't know if you've seen everything going down with Elon Musk. Elon's been busy, to say the least.
And Canadians wanting to kick him out.
And so yeah, well, go ahead and elaborate on that.
Well, there's a poll.
150,000 a petition
that's being signed. There's too many people now that want to revoke his Canadian citizenship. I didn't realize he still had a Canadian citizenship. To be
ridiculous, man. Like that blows my mind because
Canadians will speak up about revoking this man's citizenship, but they won't speak up about like
every controversy that's happening in our legislature
that we face and all the other things that we're crapping the bed in.
Gosh, man, like what in the world? Like how about we build our nation and focus on what we can do here instead of worry about what Elon's doing? And in fact, Elon's saving this country over here. The amount of
there's a love-hate relationship with him.
Of course there is, and there's going to be with anyone who's doing what he's doing. Like even you and I were talking about this morning, and have you? So I know you've heard about it, so I'll elaborate on how our conversation went. But when Elon found out, when there's a video of Elon standing next to Trump in the Oval Office with his son, and it's a 30 to 40 minute video, and he's describing everything going down with what he's been uncovering and where money's been, and Trump's kind of talking about every one of those things, and then all of a sudden, Elon goes, I want to show you guys something. We've uncovered that only 10,000 employees a month can be let go, resign, or retire in the United States of America, a country of 330 million people. He's like, that's just outrageous. So there's going to be much more turnover than that. And then as he began to dive down this, and I'm very curious if any of you guys saw this, the reason is because it's at Iron Mountain, is where they store all the paper files.
I still honestly kind of don't believe that this is true. This seems like right
so outrageous.
Okay, just tell them what it is.
And so it's at this Iron Mountain apparently where they have an elevator shaft that goes down into this mine where they store all the paper to where they log, if David Craig resigns, I have to take this paper, fill it all out. Once you bring it in, go down the elevator shaft, store it in the file folders there. And the reason that it's only 10,000 is because that's the maximum amount of elevator movements that they can fit in a month.
Come on,
and
you got to get Nicolas Cage, National Treasure Hunter, to go and solve the mystery to find the federal.
So ludicrous. It's just outrageous. Like it's so stupid. But this is the kind of crap that he's pulling up and realizing we got to ask questions. We got to dig. And so they're making a lot of people afraid. That's why there's so many people attacking him. Is there's nowhere off bounds. Like Trump tweeted or X'd a post the other day, and he said, I appreciate what Elon's doing, but I need him to double down. We have a country to save. And so then Elon responded and said, sounds good, yes, sir. And so then Elon sent an email over these last few days, and there's a lot of controversy on this, especially the FBI and the Pentagon. And he said, we would like a report of what every federal employee has done over the last week under these parameters. And so he gave kind of basic parameters. If you do not respond, we will consider that your resignation, which is the biggest boss.
Interesting. They give a time frame?
Like he didn't actually give a time frame, so a lot of people had no idea what the time frame was. So there's a lot of speculation and question as to people on holidays, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is being made that as he goes down this road, he's realizing there's a lot of fraud taking place, fake employees that they think aren't real people who are double dipping, taking multiple paychecks, all sorts of shady things. And so he's trying to save this country. And so my point on this is, like, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be feeding the starving and someone will criticize you for the way you do it. Like, I don't know if you follow Mr. Beast at all, Jimmy?
No.
Jimmy, he's an amazing guy. He's brilliant, obviously. Largest YouTuber on the planet. Billions of views. And I'm not exaggerating with that. But he also has a channel where he helps people and just helps people and builds homes for people and feeds the hungry. And he does massive scale things. Like there's videos you'll find online, and you could tag a few of them or show them here, he gives sight to the blind. And he did like 2,000.
What do you mean? You're saying literally?
Literally, like cardiac surgery, not
Okay.
cardiac.
Yeah, it's hard.
What am I trying to think of? Cornea.
Eye.
Cornea.
Cornea.
Cardiac. He'll do these surgeries, and he did 2,000 surgeries for these people to give their sight back, and then he'll do giving amputees.
I saw the drilling water,
all
wells,
sorts of
all that
stuff,
he
wells,
was
and
doing.
all this stuff. And even him, he gets death threats. People attack him, come after him. How dare you? You have this savior complex. So it's like it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be attacked. And I think people need to understand that, even in the pursuit, like we're doing, as like Dr. Phil's doing, in the pursuit of truth, to let good ideas rise to the top, you're going to have enemies. In fact, you're guaranteed to have enemies, because when you oppose something that I believe is evil, evil is going to retaliate.
Well, let's apply that thought with what President Trump is doing in the States and what Elon is appointed to with Doge. Like, he keeps giving Doge more, not just leeway, but authority to essentially tear apart the bureaucratic state and to get rid of all of the sieve that it's been in terms of money flowing through and all that stuff. Canada could use a very similar thing, because if you look at, first off, if you live in Canada, you know the state. Actually, that's not true. I don't think majority of Canadians know the state of terms of our finances and our economic outlook. But I would imagine that there's very similar things with how much that we have. The bureaucratic state has grown in Canada. Like in terms of employers, the Canadian government is the largest and the fastest growing employer in the country. And we know that the government doesn't create wealth the way that free markets intend to. The reason why I was wanting to bring that up is because in response, I want to get to this in a little bit too. I want to talk a bit more about what this President Trump wants to accomplish in terms of 25% tariffs being threatened on Canada. We've talked about national security. We've talked a little bit about border and all that stuff.
We're a few days away from the tariffs being
we're approaching that with
Very
there's
close.
some time that was bought, but with the amount. So my point in saying this is that Trump wanted us to be able to come to the table and fix some problems that we're having in terms of our border. Was a big one. Obviously fentanyl flow and all that. And again, I still think it's overkill equating us the same side as Mexico and trying to throw us in the same boat, but there's a greater goal he's trying to accomplish. But the response from our government in order to try to stop this, because 25% tariffs and getting into an economic war with someone like the US, who's our biggest trading partner, it's going to cause us a world of hurt as we walk down that path. Still, I know there's been some plan and some resources deployed, and I know Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stated that there's going to be a certain amount of money going towards it, but it wasn't like a ridiculous game-changing amount to where we're going to revolutionize. Like, you know how, like Donald said to Elon, they want to revolutionize how government is done here. They want to bring it back to its studs and its foundation. Canada's not the same. The reason I bring that up, because this week, I'm not sure if you saw this, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just announced we're going to be giving Ukraine another, guess how much money?
More?
$5 billion.
Unbelievable.
This week, as of, we're recording this on Monday. You guys will be watching this on Wednesday. It was as of an hour and a half ago. Is that he's right now saying we've pledged another $5 billion to Ukraine. On top of that as well, 25 LAVs, F-16s, and a bunch of other military gear that we're pledging. That is, I want to say it's 3 times more than what we've pledged to our own border to try to secure and to get things back up to a response of an economic threat.
To what Trump is
My point is that the priorities are so misaligned, is that we know, you'll find so much money laundering when you look through the whole Ukraine. Even President Zelensky said they can't account for
he's openly
billions of dollars that haven't arrived. Like, we know, like, that is just a can of worms to open up. But Canada is sending more money. And you look at the problems that we're having internally. Like, this is the point where we need to have good ideas. When your house is on fire, let's stop trying to use a hose to put out the fire that's in the bush a yard over. Like, we're not focused, and it's like, what is going on? And I know, and again, my confidence, I don't have confidence in someone like Mark Carney, because if you read his book that he put out in 2020 or 2021, he's got the same thoughts and the same ideas, and he comes from the same playbook that Justin Trudeau has. He's stating things right now on his campaign tour about stopping the carbon tax on April 1st, but it's not like a full stop. It's there's a lot of leeway now. I was just watching a video before this of how he's saying it. All that, again, I'm rambling now, but all that to say is we have got such, it's interesting how Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to find money to figure out the debt problem and to focus on the strength of a nation. Yeah. Whereas it's almost like we don't care at all about the strength of our nation. We want to keep sending and solving everyone else's problems.
It's outrageous.
Again, it's like your focus is on how you look as opposed to what is best for your country. That's poor leadership.
I was just downtown Calgary about a week or two ago, and I was handing out bags of food and hats and stuff in something that we do in a different side of what we do.
Yep.
And I went from homeless person to homeless person to homeless person, handing these things out. And there were so many people who were so high on drugs and starving and people. And it was heartbreaking. And as I go to person, you can't help but just feel like, what is going on? And what have we done to our country? And it's more than we've ever seen. It's everywhere. It seems like they're on every corner. Calgary's a great city. And it seems like it's happening more and more and more. And that's something that just ticks me off more than anything, is $5 billion. Can you imagine what you could do with that? If you deployed it into Vancouver. Have you walked down in Vancouver lately?
It's been a couple years.
I had someone send me a video, and it's the saddest thing. It's not even safe anymore. There's so much drugs being pumped through there. You can't safely walk down there with you and your wife anymore. Like it's brutal.
Well, and part of the reason why Vancouver has taken a giant hit, Surrey and all these areas, and we've seen the same thing in Ontario, close to the border, because we saw the 1 in 3 families in this certain region in Ontario. It's a state of emergency because they need to go to food banks. Like, this is the state of
the food banks are all empty.
Of a G7 country.
I know.
Right? And so when you look at what President Trump is hitting on in terms of not only just border security, but he's actually really concerned about the national security in our relationship with China, especially when it pertains to the North, the Arctic, the military, rehearsals? What's the right term for that? They practice their military stuff up north with Russia.
I like hearing you struggle through it.
Well, you know the word. I know. I can see you know the word.
I don't know what word you're talking about. What are you talking about?
When the military practice. That's what I'm looking for. I can't find the word.
I don't know. Drills.
Sure. That's not the that's the worst word.
I have no idea. I don't know. I know what you're talking about. But at the same time, you're completely right. And that's my thoughts on what.
Let me finish my point, though. Finish my point.
No, go ahead. I have lots to say on what you're saying.
But because Vancouver has become such a hub, and we've talked about the Port of Vancouver and how 2% of the sea cans are checked. It's become such a hub for not only drugs and crime, but money laundering.
Yeah.
Money laundering is a massive issue. And whenever you have, and Martin Peltier was telling us a couple episodes ago, whenever you got money laundering as free as we do, like, remember TD got slapped with a $3 billion charge because of their, whatever, their loose.
A fine.
Fine, that's it, yeah. Whenever you have money laundering like that, crime and all these other things are attracted. Like the Sinaloa cartel actually has a stronghold in that area. And not just some like low-level guys. These are the type of issues we're dealing with in Canada. Hence why you're seeing, when you say you walk downtown Vancouver and other areas, we're seeing this rise.
It actually is. It's really sad. And to think about what $5 billion could do for our country if we were actually thinking of our nation first.
And you have to have the right people to actually execute well on it. That's another part of the problem.
For sure, that's a very well, of course, but like it also would start with funding. Funding would rally the troops and rally the people and get people behind. Like it gets me so frustrated when we, like, for those who know what we do on the other side of things is I also run a charity, and in the charity we're constantly fundraising to do things for a cause. And so, like, to hear that how they just print money, inflate our dollar, and just throw it out the door to another country when we're not taking care of our own country and our own citizens, it's heartbreaking. It's really sad.
Well, Melanie Joly, who's our foreign affairs minister, she represents Canada to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
that's her job. Was stating as well, because I think they're in Ukraine right now. Some of our government, our leaders.
Paul says drill, military drill.
That's okay. English isn't his first language, though.
And he got it. He got it over us.
Paul, you got it, man. Paul's our producer. He's watching right now, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's watching back from Calgary. But Melanie Joly was just stating as well that when the war in Ukraine ends, which, by the way, Canada's doing nothing to do, like, it's all President Trump who's going to, if it does end or when, he's going to figure that out. that Canada needs. She literally said verbatim, Canada needs to be the one for the next 5 years to help pay their bills and help them come through from what's happened. I'm trying to hear exactly what she's saying. It's so like, but this mentality again, it's like every other, like Trudeau said himself, post-nationalist. We are a post-nationalist country. Like, we should think on what that means for a second. As a Canadian citizen, our leader believes we're a post-national country.
Yeah, that's wild.
And acting that way.
Yeah.
And you have the exact opposite happening with our friends to the south.
Yeah.
You have a president who is nationalistic.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to use tariffs as a tool to bring home production and everything to the United States. I was listening to a podcast last week. Palmer Luckey. I'm not sure if you guys know who Palmer Luckey is, but he's a young guy in his 30s. He's a tech billionaire. He's the one who designed Oculus when he's 14 years old, and he sold it to Meta.
Brilliant man.
And Mark told him, we're going to invest $1 billion per year over the next 10 years in something you love. Come work for us. Work for them. He ended up getting fired because of, call it cancel culture, essentially. And then he went on his own, started his own company called Anduril, which is mixing tech and military, and he's changing the face of this. But one thing that he brought up, which was what was I just talking about before this? I got off on that side tangent.
You're talking about tech, the ability, what he's doing.
I just totally dropped my thought. That happens once in a while. Anyways, Jeff, do you remember what I was talking about? Jeff's off the side here with Palmer Luckey and, tariffs. He's there, got the
tariffs being a tool.
So he's talking about, President Trump understands that if you, like, and this is what kind of globalists don't understand, is that means of production is given out to everyone else, is that you actually are giving control to everyone else because all they have to do is cut off that production, right? Whereas if you produce your own way to live and all the things that you're doing, you are now in charge of your own future. Like if you think of how much control President of China, Xi Jinping, has in terms of the biggest tech companies in the world. You look at the Mag 7, maybe with the exception of Tesla and maybe but for example, you look at Apple. And look at Tim Cook. What happens if Xi Jinping says, you know what, we're shutting down all of your factories in China? You know what, we're going to make the iPhone.
He's truly the driver, not Tim Cook.
And then does that to a lot of the other tech companies, is that would be an economic disaster hit, like because they own the means of production, even though these companies are operating and they're maybe not. So there's a big issue that Trump, and I hope you guys are kind of catch what I'm saying, because that is what we don't have in Canada.
Yeah, we have complete reliance on everyone else. We have all the oil we need in Alberta, but we still ship it in from Saudi Arabia. We bring in oil tankers on our east coast, and we don't use our own minerals. And that actually, to the point of when you were trying to figure out the word for drill, when you were making that case, though, one of the things that I truly believe, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize, is that I don't know if Trump really was actually wanting Canada to fix the fentanyl issue. Like of course he wants that, but that's not his real. I think that was just the first approach to get people to think about the fact that Canada could be the 51st state. And I don't think he's joking. I don't think he's messing around. I think he sees the mismanagement, he sees the potential, and he sees a nation that's not thinking of itself first, where he realizes a very serious, as you were talking about, a very serious security threat, that the whole North is not protected and covered. If Canada got attacked on a very serious level, we just have to concede or just run to the U.S.
Didn't
for
Trump
help.
say about not protecting Canada anymore?
Yeah, he did.
I'm not sure if that's official, but I remember him saying
I saw him. I see it. Like, it feels like the guy doesn't sleep. I've seen a new clip of him every second of every day. It's incredible. But so it's hard to piece it all together. But and Paul, if it is, throw it on below. But yeah, it's a very real security threat, and the fact that we are completely reliant on everybody else, including USA, for protection, is ridiculous. And so,
you know what word I was looking for? Training. Military trainings, military exercises.
Drill is a more appropriate word.
Yeah,
much more appropriate.
My point is that Trump's concerned, obviously, about as Russia and China are starting to come into the north and doing military trainings and exercises, the whole Arctic thing. That's why Greenland is on the table, trying to figure that out, right? But again, good ideas versus bad ideas. You hit it, and this is why it's so important. And if you guys are, again, as you're watching, let us know in the comments, because Canada's got all the things that we need to be a self-sustaining nation that is strong,
Very strong.
and can be not just dependent on others, but we can be a very strong ally, more so than we have been. And we were there at one point.
Yeah.
We've been going the wrong direction the last while. Because you look at the diversity in Canada in terms of what we have in terms of minerals, you look at the oil and gas and the potential that we have there, the fact of our fresh water and salt water, you look at our foresting industry, you look at all these different things that we have.
Yeah.
Tech was a great place that was coming and building in Canada until our taxes started getting
Well, and
a little
Kirk
crazy.
from our last episode brought up some really good points. And one of the things he was saying was the sheer amount of not only resources and minerals, but also the fact that our population is the size of one American state.
That was an interesting point you
Yeah,
brought
it's
up.
the fact that we have such a small population with the amount of vast land we have, minerals we have, the opportunity here is what that means is you have there's far less competition in our own country here with far greater opportunity. There's so much upside. And I had never heard anybody put it that way, but it's a very, very good point. And I think Trump sees the upside. And I don't think he's joking anymore.
And we haven't put any effort into the infrastructure to build. Like again, we've touched on this a couple of times, but one issue is Western Canada. We don't even send our oil directly into Eastern Canada.
No, it goes straight to the U.S.
It comes down into the U.S. and it comes up through, I forget what pipeline it is, but comes up through Ontario, and we get some over there. But we still
That's the
import
pipeline
a ton.
Doug Ford was threatening to cut off on behalf of Danielle Smith.
That's right.
That was the one where he threatened, and Danielle Smith went on there and said, "Don't threaten something you have no power over whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is my province.
Yeah.
You should know what you're talking about before you threaten it." And if we were to cut it off to the U.S., it would also kill half of Ontario's oil supply.
Yeah.
And so that's what she was saying. Like, what are you talking about? What are you threatening this for? It's silly.
Do you think? I was looking a bit more into Pierre Poilievre. Obviously, we know a lot about him, but there are some core issues that he is lock in step with the Liberal Party. And again, there's going to be overlap in some areas. Do you think he can actually bring the change that needs to be brought? Because it's almost like you need a hatchet man, not concerned about his political future, to bring the stark change that needs to happen to actually, have our Titanic, well, we have a proverbial Titanic sitting here, to steer the Titanic to miss.
Well, do you remember the prediction
The
you
iceberg.
made? The prediction you made on a show 2-3 shows ago. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I think that prediction is coming to be
Some
true.
of it's happening.
It's
I've
really
been
starting to
noticing
happen.
as they fall into place.
And for those who missed the prediction, you're essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were essentially saying what they're going to probably try to do is demonize Trump as much as they can, say in Canada, say that he's evil and that Pierre is the same thing, Pierre Poilievre. And if they can do that, then they're going to try to garner as much followership for the Liberal Party as possible. And it seems as though that might be happening.
Well, they are for sure linking the two, 100%.
If I had to, I'll say it this way. I don't know if Pierre's got it. I think he's the best shot at getting it. That's the best approach I have to it. I think you bring up a very valid point about someone like Trump who does not care about their political future. I think Trump has nothing to lose. Or sorry, he has everything to lose, nothing to gain is a better way, is what I mean to say.
You're saying Trump does?
Trump.
But I feel like his mindset is, like, I kind of feel like the 4 years he was not in office is an asset.
For sure
him.
was.
And because he has 4 years and doesn't.
But that's my point, is that there's no re-election for him going forward.
I see
It
what you're
doesn't
saying,
matter
yeah,
to him. He's not a lifetime politician. He's just not. He doesn't care.
And that's my concern about future
about Pierre.
politicians in Canada, is that we're getting to such a point. You need to have someone who just doesn't care.
Yes.
I don't care if I go down with the ship, but there has to be some, because there's going to be pain. This is the idea. I think all of you as Canadians that are watching, there is going to be an aspect of short-term pain for the long-term gain.
There has to be.
And we have never been, at least in the last decade, we haven't been long-term focused unless our government's just been ignoring it. But I think as Canadians, again, like I say this all the time, we get the government that we deserve because the government isn't in charge of people. The government is accountable to people. And as citizens, we get what we tolerate.
Yeah.
And that's a principle even for daily life. We get what we tolerate. Yeah. And we've been tolerating some things too long. And that's why I was making the joke earlier. It's like the Canadians are getting riled up about revoking Elon Musk's citizenship.
So
it's like,
ridiculous.
where is that passion, you 120,000 of you who've signed this petition
150
already?
now.
It's 150. For things that actually matter, they're going to make a difference in your kid's life.
Yeah.
Because that's the trajectory we're on.
And yet our government is throwing $5 billion. I don't think people realize how much money that is. Those numbers just get thrown around a lot, and $5 billion would bury this room if we brought it in cash. Like you wouldn't even be able to see.
Okay, think of a millionaire.
Yeah.
And think of a billionaire.
Yeah.
I think we equate those numbers like, okay, it's just like a little bit more. How many days do you think 1 million seconds is? 1 million seconds is 11 days. How many days is a billion seconds?
I remember this. Like 15 or 20 years or 30 years.
Yep, good guess. So 1 million seconds is 11 days. A billion seconds is like 34 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So just to get an idea of the grandness, how big these numbers are, is that can do a lot when it's proper. But again, it comes down to what's our priorities. Yeah. And right now, you have a minority government that has prorogued parliament, and we've said this last episode, it's party over people.
Party over people.
That's there's no other way. I'm trying my best to be like, David, stop being so like.
Yeah.
I know I view things the way that David views things, but I'm trying to see it from all angles, and it's like
there's no other way to look at it though.
No,
there's just no other way.
When you have politics in that state, it's like, man,
sorry to interrupt.
You're throwing citizens under the bus.
Yes.
For your own preservation.
We are facing one of the grimmest things the country's ever seen before, as far as how these tariffs could affect us, or how our economy could collapse if we don't deal with it. And in the face of that, we prorogued government. We stopped our ability to handle, negotiate, to go to the table, and we completely paused it to figure out a liberal leader that is up for election. That's why we stopped it. Everything. So we when you say party over people, there's no better way to describe it. It's fully accurate.
A responsible thing as a leader of a country in the face of like truly selfless, responsible leader in its truest sense would have stated, they would have said, we are facing economic warfare. We're facing some of the biggest challenges. I realize I have been a minority government and subsequent lowest vote totals, election after election. The responsible thing is to allow the Canadian people to speak again and to choose who you want to lead us through this next time, which could be very turbulent or it could be a turning point. And then go on to advocate for yourself why you think you're the one. But the selfless thing is to let the people choose again, because that's the role of being a public servant. Where is that?
Exactly. We need it. We need nation first.
Actually, where is that?
Yeah, it's in the USA.
It's in the USA.
That's a good place to call it.
Okay.
Gosh.
Are you thinking of moving to Texas?
No, I'm not. But I'm saying I admire so many things about what the
U.S.
U.S.
is doing.
You love the smell
of the air, though.
It's nation. Yeah, it does. It does smell good. It's truly nation first, and we have a lot to learn from them. We really, really do. You and we didn't get into this, and maybe we'll get into this. Maybe we'll do a full episode on this, but I don't think Canadians even realize that we have compelled speech here in Canada. We do not have free speech. I hear people talk about Canada is a free nation. We're free people. No, we're not. No, we're not. There's words you can say that will throw you in jail, which is just outrageous. And when I look at what the Constitution of the United States Constitution allows for the people, it has real substance, and it's backed. It makes a difference, and it actually protects its citizens. Well, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, I think ours is showing its weaknesses right now in terms of how it was written, our charter. Again, it goes back to was it 80, what year is it, 81, the charter that came in? It's 81 that came in. And it's showing its weaknesses, that there's maneuverability within how it's written. And Stockwell Days even said this. If you read point number 1, if you read the first one, it is essentially a get out of jail free card. And we saw that during the Freedom Convoy, right? With the violation of Canadian citizens' rights, with the freezing of bank accounts. Actually, we've got to do a documentary on this.
Yeah, we really do.
Whole last 10 years of the things of, does the charter stand up truly for Canadians, or where was it breached?
Yeah.
And then you look at things like the Senate, and you look at, anyways, it's not, let's be positive.
It's hard. It's hard to be positive right now, but especially that's why landing here, that's why I'm going, the stark contrast between the two countries is so vast. Yeah. It's so vast.
But this is the thing. Canadians, we can
do it.
If we get our head out of the sand, there's a lot that we can learn.
We really can.
We can realize that we actually have the smart people and the brains. Yeah. We have the resources you have, the relationships in theory with the allies you still want.
Are in Ukraine, but yeah, we
resources-
gotta go get them.
Oh, in Ukraine, yeah. In the ground in Canada, we've got resources. We've access to so many bodies of water.
Yeah.
We could build for ourselves to be one of the strongest nations in the world.
Yeah.
Right? We have been trending the exact opposite. You look at Eastern European countries, they have been trending better than Canada for the last 4 years. So we have all the necessary ingredients to make this wonderful cake, right? It's just, we just keep dumping all the ingredients into other bowls. That's like what keeps happening. In the upcoming episodes, we're going to explore what it means to be Canadian. Because we love that we're Canadian. We're proud of our history, and there's an amazing history that we can explore a bit more. So stay tuned for that. Anything else we got to talk? I think we're rounding up our time right now.
That's
we're
all.
approaching
Honestly,
45.
want to hear from you guys at home. Make sure to comment, let us know where you're watching from. We want to dialogue with you. We want to wrestle with you in these concepts, and we hope you agree or disagree. We don't really care. We want to have these conversations. So make sure that you comment below. Let us know, and David and I will jump in the comments.
And shout out to Dr. Phil, Merit Team US, all the production crew. Thank you guys for being a part of us today. To the team that we've been meeting with, from Ken and all Maddie and the rest of our friends. Honestly, they've been such a great time to connect. So anyways, be watching. Remember, you can always watch Citizen on Merit TV, Dr. Phil's Merit TV Canada. Be watching for that. Again, if your cable provider does not yet provide Dr. Phil's Merit TV Canada, call them. Do us a favor. Give them a call and say, we want this channel. As we are continuing, we've made great strides with getting our distribution up in Canada. There's still a little bit more work to do, but we know it's coming. So thank you guys for your support and your help. Any last words?
That's all. The show goes on.
The show goes on. See you next time.